My mother died believing her favorite daughter-in-law was innocent. She never saw the knife Elise planted in my back, or the way she made me the villain at my own mother's funeral. Everyone else still believes her. But the truth isn't just ugly, it's dangerous. Justice exists, and I found it. You know it's going to be one of those days when your wife pops open a box of Merlot at 10 in the morning, because apparently, the baby needs to see mommy having fun. Yeah. Nothing screams picture-perfect family like cheap wine before the birthday cake is even cut. I'm Tom Grady, 41 years old. IT project manager. Father. Husband. And, as I was about to learn, the biggest fool in the room. Today is my daughter Zoe's first birthday. Our house on Briarwood Lane is overflowing with people, relatives, neighbors, Elise's work friends who look at me like I'm the weird extra in a movie they didn't want to see. The grill's smoking in the backyard, music's playing softly from the speaker, and the air smells like frosting, barbecue, and bad decisions. Tom, can you grab more ice from the garage? Elise slurs from the kitchen. She's wearing that red dress, the one that used to make my heart race. Now? It's just a bright red flag I should have paid attention to a long time ago. The party is buzzing. My mom, Evelyn, is sitting stiffly in a corner next to Elise's mom, Judith. Two women united by their mutual disapproval of me. Kelly, Elise's best friend, keeps whispering in her ear and shooting me looks that could peel paint. And then there's Brandon Holt, Elise's business consultant. He's out by the pool, lounging like he owns the house, polo shirt clinging to biceps he probably spends more time flexing than using. Daddy. Zoe toddles over to me on wobbly little legs, cake frosting smeared across her cheeks like war paint. My heart softens instantly. She's the one thing, at least I thought, that made all of this worth it. Hey, princess, I say, scooping her into my arms. Her giggle bubbles out like music, her tiny hands sticky against my shirt. Having fun at your party? More cake? I think you've hit your sugar quota, kiddo. I press a kiss to her forehead and breathe in that baby smell, sweet, warm, pure. It's the scent of everything I believed in. In a few hours, that belief would shatter into pieces. The afternoon drags. Brandon keeps flexing and bragging about his personal training business like he's auditioning for a reality show. Nate, my only real friend, leans against the fence nursing a beer. Guy's got more muscles than brain cells, he mutters. I snort, whispering back, play nice. But honestly, he's not wrong. By 4 p.m., Elise and Kelly are properly drunk. Giggling at the kitchen island, their wine glasses clink with every high-pitched laugh. I'm half distracted, picking up wrapping paper from the floor, when I hear it. Kelly's voice cuts through the noise like a blade. So, when are you going to tell Tom the truth about Zoe? My hands stop mid-motion, gripping a shiny bow. Elise laughs, sharp, bitter, careless. Why would I do that? He's a perfectly good co-parent. Nobody needs to know Zoe's really Dave's baby, not Tom's. I just used the stuff Dave stored before he died. Now he was a real man. The bow crumples in my fist. Dave. Her ex-husband. The ghost who's haunted our entire marriage. The one she always held up like some untouchable gold standard. Kelly lowers her voice, but not enough. Tom has no idea? None, Elise replies. The clinic was very discreet. He thinks we tried for months. Never even questioned why Zoe looks nothing like him. Men are so clueless about these things. My stomach twists. The room around me fades into a dull roar, people laughing, glasses clinking, kids squealing, but all I can hear is that. Zoe isn't mine. The little girl I've held every night, rocked to sleep, called my world, shares no part of me. I'm just the guy who pays the bills and changes diapers. That's cold, even for you, Kelly says, though she's laughing too. Elise swirls her wine and shrugs. Dave would have wanted his daughter to have a good life. Tom gives her that. He's stable, boring, safe. Everything Dave wasn't. Sometimes I look at her and see Dave smile. It's like having a piece of him back. I stumble back, gripping the counter. My heart pounds so hard it's a physical ache. Zoe's little laugh floats from the living room, completely unaware that her father just died on the inside. By the time the guests leave, Elise is passed out on the couch, lipstick smudged and wine glass still half full. I move quietly. No yelling. No big scene. Just, cold, clear resolve. I pack a single bag. Laptop. Clothes. Zoe's favorite stuffed elephant, the one she never sleeps without. On my way out, I grab her birth certificate from the filing cabinet. With one clean stroke of a black marker, I cross out my name under Father. I leave it on Elise's pillow with a note. Since I'm just the co-parent, you won't be needing my signature anymore. By the time I check into a cheap motel across town, my phone is blowing up. Dozens of missed calls. Texts pouring in. Tom, where are you? This is ridiculous. You're overreacting. Tom, please. Think about Zoe. At 3 a.m., the final message comes. I know you heard what I said. It doesn't change anything. You're still her father in every way that matters. I turn off the phone and stare at the ceiling fan spinning above me. My world has been reduced to 4 motel walls and a single, razor-sharp thought. Tomorrow. I start dismantling hers. The law office of Karp, Stevens and Associates smells like leather, old paper, and quiet ruin. Mr. Karp is a thin man with wire-rimmed glasses and the emotional range of a toaster. He flips through my file like it's a grocery receipt. Paternity fraud is tough to prove in this state, he says flatly. Even if she deceived you, you may still be the legal father. You signed the certificate. She used her dead ex-husband's genetic material without telling me, I snap. How is that not fraud? It depends on proving intent and damages, he replies, sliding a paper across the desk. We'll need DNA tests, medical records from the clinic, any admissions from your wife. I hand him my phone. A recording of Elise, hungover and defensive, repeating everything she said that night. Fine. Yes, Zoe is Dave's biological daughter. But you're her real father, Tom. Biology doesn't matter. Carp listens, nods once. That's solid. But this will be a long fight. She'll claim abandonment. Unfit parenting. Do you have any history of violence, substance abuse, mental health issues? I let out a bitter laugh. No. I'm the most boring man in America. Good, he says. Boring wins custody cases. I walk out with a retainer agreement in hand and a storm in my chest. My phone is lighting up again, dozens of new messages from Elise. She's burned through denial, anger, and bargaining at record speed. Now she's in full emotional blackmail mode. But this time, I'm not the clueless husband. Justice exists, and she's about to meet it. Zoe keeps asking for daddy. That's what the first text says. Followed by another. How can you do this to her? And then another. Your mother called. She thinks you're having a breakdown. By the fourth message, it isn't even Elise anymore. It's Brandon. You're just jealous because I have friends who care about me. Of course Brandon's involved. Of course he is. I grip the steering wheel so tight my knuckles ache as I pull into the parking lot of Whole Fitness, his personal shrine to himself. It's all chrome, glass, and overpriced protein powder. Through the front windows, I can see him spotting some blonde woman on the bench press, his hands lingering just a little too long on her shoulders. The kind of touch that isn't about form at all. And then my phone lights up with a name I can't ignore, Mom. Tom, what is this nonsense about leaving Elise? She's beside herself with worry. I bite back the bitter laugh. Did she tell you what she did? She told me you're having some kind of midlife crisis, Mom says, her voice firm, like she's already chosen a side. This is about that baby issue, isn't it? So what if she used a donor? Zoe is still your daughter. She lied to me for 2 years, Mom. She used her dead husband's seed and let me believe Zoe was mine. There's a pause. Then she sighs like I'm the unreasonable one. Biology isn't everything, Tom. That little girl needs her father. You're being selfish. Click. The line goes dead. I sit there in the car for a long moment, phone still pressed to my ear, listening to the silence. Even my own mother. Taking Elise's side. I shouldn't be surprised. Evelyn Grady has never thought I was good enough for anyone. Not for Elise. Not for anyone. Later that night, I'm sitting in the world's most depressing motel room, eating cold Chinese takeout from a paper carton, when someone starts hammering on the door. Through the peephole, Nate. Six-pack in hand. You look like crap, he says the moment I open the door, pushing past me like he's done it 1,000 times. Feel worse, I mumble, collapsing into the single creaky chair like the room itself is tired of holding me up. I take a beer from him. The can is cold against my palm, grounding me. My wife. My mother. Probably half the neighborhood thinks I'm the bad guy here, I mutter. They don't know the truth. Elise is telling everyone I walked out over fertility issues. Not the part where she defrauded me out of fatherhood. Nate cracks open his beer with a hiss. She's good at this, Tom. PR is her whole job. Spinning the narrative is what she does. You're not fighting a woman, you're fighting a brand. I let out a hollow laugh. Yeah. My wife's greatest love story is the one where she's the victim. He shifts, suddenly serious. There's something else. I didn't want to say anything, but you need to hear it. My stomach tightens. What now? My wife saw your mom and Elise at the country club last week, Nate says carefully. They weren't alone. Brandon was with them. What? The word comes out sharp, like glass in my throat. Sarah said they looked pretty cozy. Like it wasn't their first time. The beer in my mouth suddenly tastes like metal. My mom, who barely tolerates Elise, sitting with Brandon. That doesn't add up. Unless it always did, and I was too blind to see it. Think about it, Nate continues. Your mom's been pushing you to forgive Elise since day one. She's taking her side real fast for someone who just found out about the baby thing. I replay the past year like a film reel, those business trips, Elise's sudden love for yoga retreats with my mom, how Brandon always seemed to know my schedule like it was emailed to him. All the puzzle pieces I ignored because I wanted to believe my life was stable. How long do you think this has been going on? I ask. My voice doesn't even sound like mine. Nate exhales slowly. Does it matter? He's right. It doesn't. The damage is done. The real question, Nate says, leaning forward, eyes hard, is what are you going to do about it? And right then, staring at that cheap motel lamp, I realize, the people I trusted most have already chosen their side. Now, it's my turn to choose mine. The next morning felt ordinary until it didn't. I was stepping out of a coffee shop, steam from my latte fogging my glasses, the smell of burnt espresso clinging to my jacket, when a black SUV came barreling around the corner like it had a death wish. Time snapped slow for a second, the roar of the engine, the rubber squeal, and then, realization. Elise. Behind the wheel. I had maybe 2 heartbeats to move. I dove between 2 parked cars like some reflex from another life. The SUV clipped my leg and yanked me into the street, skin scraping on hot asphalt. Pain detonated through my knee. Gravel dug into my palms. I rolled, every breath a knife, and watched the SUV vanish down the block. For a moment I was convinced I'd imagined it, until I looked up and saw Elise's face in the passenger seat, twisting into something that wasn't grief or fear. It was satisfaction. Someone call an ambulance, a woman screamed. That maniac just tried to end him. Voices blurred into 1,000 frantic sounds, sirens in the distance, someone sobbing, the clack of a camera phone. I tasted metal and dust. My knee throbbed like a second heartbeat. At the hospital, Detective Lyle took my statement while a nurse scrubbed gravel from the heels of my hands. He was worn, thick lines around eyes that had watched too many couples fall apart. "You're sure it was your wife driving?" he asked, pen poised. "Positive," I said. "She was driving our SUV. Plate BWW 472. My voice was flat, but my hands wouldn't stop shaking. "The whole coffee shop saw it?" he asked. "Security footage?" "Yes." I wanted him to write it down twice. She accelerated when she saw me. Swerved on purpose. He made notes. He didn't look surprised. "We'll pull the cameras. If that's what happened, we'll bring her in." It didn't take long. The footage was brutal in its clarity, Elise behind the wheel, a hard set to her jaw, the SUV lunging forward in a way that left no room for accidental interpretation. She accelerated and aimed. The prosecutor called it attempted vehicular homicide. The charge changed everything. This was not a private marriage dispute anymore. I walked out of the hospital with a bandaged knee, a prescription for painkillers, and a hollow, cold place where my life used to be. My phone buzzed. "Carp. I have some interesting news," he said when I answered. My lawyer's voice was businesslike, the way someone reads bad stock reports. "Your wife has filed counterclaims. She alleges you were physically aggressive with her and Zoe. Says you have anger management issues and a drinking problem." I sat down on the plastic bench until the tile stopped tilting. "That's nonsense," I said. "All of it." Carp's tone tightened. "She's also claiming you threatened to end her and Brandon if she didn't take you back. She says there are witnesses." "Witnesses?" The word landed in my throat like a stone. "Your mother," he said. "Kelly Morrison. Brandon Hole." It was like someone had punched the wind out of me. Of course those names would be there. Of course the people twisting the knife would be people I'd trusted. Lies become poison when they have witnesses. Carp's face over the phone was unreadable. "We need to get ahead of this," he said. "Prepare for a smear campaign." Through the hospital window I watched Elise being led from a squad car in handcuffs, her hair a messy halo, mascara streaking her cheeks. She looked small and fragile, an actress in full costume. Reporters were already gathering, hungry for the suburban spectacle. Mother arrested after attempted hit and run. She looked up at me through the glass and, for a moment that felt like an animal trap snapping shut, she smiled. Not a smile of remorse. A smile of triumph. That's when I knew, this wasn't pleading or panic. This was war. Bail came 6 hours later. Her mother, Judith, wrote a check like she was paying for a casserole, 50 grand down, the price of freedom. By evening, Elise was back on the sofa, hair pulled into a tidy ponytail, Zoe curled in her lap, putting on the same wounded act she'd been rehearsing since I'd walked out. The local news grabbed the story and ran with the version that painted me as unstable. They ran a professional headshot of Elise, the kind you use for LinkedIn, side by side with a grainy, unflattering picture of me they pulled from my company website. Guess which one made me look dangerous? Kelly stood on our lawn in front of a camera, blinking away tears with a practiced hand. He'd been acting erratically, she told the reporter. Monitoring my calls, controlling me. "I'm so scared for Elise and for Zoe." Her voice was soaked in performative fear. The segment ended with resources for domestic violence survivors and a link to Elise's GoFundMe, Elise's page, already at $12,000 by midnight. Donations, sympathetic comments, neighbors who once waved now passing me with averted eyes. My employer called the next morning. "We need you to take leave," my boss said over the phone, voice cautious. "Until things sort out legally." Suspended. It's just until this is resolved. Part-time exile, they called it, corporate self-preservation. I was the man on the news. The optics were bad. "I understand," he said. "We'll talk when you're ready." By noon, Mrs. Cooper, who used to bring me tomatoes, walked straight across the street to avoid me. The mailman left envelopes on the sidewalk instead of the mailbox. My own neighborhood had become a slow-motion trial. Elise was everywhere, in interviews, on social media, in the whispered cross-street condolences. She'd weaponized sympathy and trained people to fire it at me. I was digging through lawyer directories online, defamation, countersuits, anything that might stop the bleeding, when Nate called. "Turn on Channel 7 tonight," he said. His voice was low, urgent. "Elise is doing a sit-down." I watched the television in my motel like it was some cursed mirror. Elise sat in our living room on the screen, hair neat, Zoe on her lap, lighting arranged so the mother and child tableau looked like a Renaissance painting. The interviewer smiled soft questions and Elise answered like she was reading a script. "Tom was always controlling," she said, voice trembling. "He monitored my phone. He questioned my friendships. When I told him about Zoe's paternity, he exploded. He said he'd end me before he'd let another man's child inherit his money." My hand froze on the remote. I wanted to throw it at the screen, smash the manicured lighting, rip the camera out of the wall. Instead I watched as she told them how terrified she was, how she had to get away that morning because she feared for her safety. "I saw him on the street and panicked," she said. Zoe babbled in her lap and Elise smiled that small, wounded smile. The broadcast finished with an appeal for domestic violence resources and the hover text, "Support Elise and Zoe. $12,000 and climbing." You can spin 1,000 lies if you know how to shape a narrative. Elise did. Brandon did. My mother did. People who should have stood with me picked the cleaner, louder story. Enough was enough. The next morning I drove to Whole Fitness like I was walking into the lion's den. The place stank of sweat and scented candles, an odd combination, and the gym's mirrors reflected a world I'd been excluded from. Brandon was in his office, feet on the desk, talking about whey proteins in a voice that oozed self-satisfaction. He looked up when I walked in, mask of fake concern already sliding into place. "Tom, man, I heard about the accident." "How are you holding up?" he said, palms spread like a man who believes his own press release. Cut the crap, Brandon, I said, clench in my voice. I know you're sleeping with my wife. He laughed, not a real laugh. Nervous twitch in the corners of his mouth. Dude, that's crazy talk. Elise and I are friends. I'm helping her through a tough time. Helping her commit paternity fraud? I snapped, stepping closer so his desk felt like the edge of a cliff. Helping her lie to the police? He pushed back, a practiced retreat. You need to leave. You're not welcome here. I pulled my phone out and showed him the photos Sarah had taken at the country club, clear as daylight, Brandon and Elise holding hands across a table, his palm on her thigh, her head cocked on his shoulder like they were the only ones left in a crowded room. Sarah's got more, I said. Clients at your gym are going to love finding out their trainers out here wrecking marriages and helping women hide evidence. His face flushed crimson. For a second, just a flicker, anger replaced the practiced calm. You can't prove anything, he spat. You don't have any proof. Watch me, I said. He leaned back, jaw tight, and the office felt suddenly very small, like the moment before a match is struck. Outside, through the glass, the gym hummed with the oblivious sound of treadmills and upbeat pop music. Inside, everything felt like it was about to change. He stood, slow and deliberate, and swung his phone onto the desk as if it were a gauntlet. Go ahead, he said, voice low. Show whoever you want. Let's see what happens. I stared at him, at the man who had been softer in public and bolder in private. The photos burned in my palm like an accusation. My knee throbbed warm with pain. My head buzzed with every humiliation I'd been handed in the last few days. Watch me, he had said. The same words echoed in my skull. I swallowed. There was a decision sitting on the table like a loaded die, escalate now, or let the lie sour into something permanent. My hand closed around the phone. My thumb hovered over the screen. And then, before I could move, the gym door swung open and someone called Brandon's name. He glanced up, a flicker of fear, of calculation. He'd been cornered, but he wasn't finished. Outside the office window, someone pointed at me and nodded. A new face, someone who recognized me from the news, from the grocery store whispers, moved toward the glass. In that heartbeat, everything I'd planned to do felt both inevitable and dangerously raw. I set the phone down slowly, feeling the weight of every witness, every lie, every sympathetic camera. The fight was no longer just legal. It was public, personal, and merciless. Watch me, he'd said. Fine. I was ready to watch him fall. I leave Brandon sputtering in his glass office and head straight for Elise's workplace. Morrison and Associates, downtown PR firm. The kind of place that smells like lemon cleaner, ambition, and carefully curated lies. The lobby is minimalist, modern art on the walls, inspirational quotes about authentic messaging glowing in backlit panels. I walk in, and the receptionist, a young woman with purple hair and the look of someone who's seen too much office drama, tenses the moment I say Elise's name. She's in a meeting right now. That's fine, I say calmly. I'll wait. She hesitates. I'm not sure that's a good idea. I'm her husband, I reply, leveling my voice. I think I can wait for my wife. 20 minutes later, the glass conference room doors slide open. Elise walks out with her boss, Miss Fun, and two clients in expensive suits. She's polished, tailored blazer, perfect hair, smile just about to form, until she sees me. She freezes mid-step like a deer catching headlights. Tom, what are you doing here? We need to talk, I say evenly. She glances nervously at her boss. This isn't the time or place. I smile. It isn't warm. Really? Because you made our marriage very public yesterday. Figured you wouldn't mind discussing it at work. Miss Fun steps forward, sharp suit, sharper face, the kind of woman who doesn't flinch easily. Mr. Grady, I'm going to have to ask you to leave. This is a workplace, not a venue for personal disputes. You're right, I say, raising my voice just enough to carry across the lobby. It's a workplace where professionals should act professionally. Tell me, Miss Fun, do you know about Elise's relationship with Brandon Holt? She stiffens. I don't see how that's relevant. Oh, I think it is. I pull out my phone, tap play, and Elise's own voice floods the lobby. Her confession, laughing about Zoe's paternity, calling me stupid, bragging about deceiving me, echoes against the marble walls. The receptionist's mouth drops open. One of the clients glances at the other. Miss Fun goes pale. This, I say, my voice steady but cutting, is the woman representing your company's integrity. A woman who commits paternity fraud, lies to the police, and tried to run me down with an SUV. Very authentic messaging, wouldn't you say? Tom, stop, Elise hisses, her professional mask slipping. Why? I fire back. You didn't stop when you called me a dangerous man on live TV. You didn't stop when you raised thousands of dollars lying about me. I turn to the clients. Gentlemen, if I were you, I'd think very carefully about who you trust with your company's reputation. She's been lying professionally for years. Security arrives just as I step toward the exit, but the damage is already done. Everyone in that lobby heard her. Everyone saw her face when the truth played out. By evening, the confrontation is all over social media. Someone posted the full recording, shaky phone video, but crystal clear audio. #paternity fraud is trending locally. The comments flood in. This woman is evil. Feel sorry for the husband. Why isn't she in jail yet? That poor man. For the first time in what feels like forever, the tide starts to shift. The world is finally hearing my side. Elise calls that night, her voice a mix of fury and desperation. You had no right to embarrass me at work, she screams. I laugh bitterly. Like you had no right to lie about me on TV? I'm fighting for my daughter's future, she snaps. She's not your daughter, remember? She's Dave's. Silence. Heavy. Then her voice returns, low, cold, stripped of all pretense. You're going to regret this, Tom. I promise you that. She hangs up. I sit there in the motel room with my knee throbbing, the glow of the phone screen reflecting off the ceiling. She's thrown everything she has at me. Lies. Public humiliation. Betrayal. But this time? I'm not the one afraid that I'm about to find out exactly what Elise meant when she said I'd regret it. The call comes on a gray Tuesday morning. Patty's voice cracks on the other end of the line. Tom, you need to get to the hospital. Mom had a stroke. 3 hours later, I'm sitting in a sterile room with white walls and humming machines, holding my mother's cold hand as the monitors flatline. Evelyn Grady slips away without ever opening her eyes again. No final words. No closure. Just me, staring at the woman who spent her last weeks believing I was the villain in my own story. I don't know if she'd have wanted me there, or Elise. The funeral is a parade of politics wrapped in black clothing. Half the room looks at me like I'm contagious, the other half like I'm a headline they've been dying to see up close. And there she is, Elise. Black designer dress, perfect makeup, tears balanced just right. She's playing the part of the grieving pseudo-daughter-in-law, the role she's been auditioning for since this mess began. She brings Zoe, who spots me across the chapel and bolts into my arms, crying, Daddy. Before I can even kneel down to hold her, Elise swoops in like a hawk. She shouldn't be confused right now, she says, projecting her voice so everyone hears. Not with everything that's happened. I watch Zoe's little arms stretch toward me as Elise pulls her back. And I swear, something inside me splinters a little more. Brandon's here too, standing near the back like a guilty shadow, his cheap suit fighting for its life against his gym-built frame. Kelly floats through the crowd like she's running a campaign, handshakes, murmured words, sympathetic nods. She's not here to mourn my mother. She's here to keep Elise's narrative airtight. During the service, I sit alone in the front row. Elise positions herself 3 rows behind, surrounded by people leaning in to comfort her, like she's the one who lost someone. The pastor, a man who barely knew my mom, gives a bland sermon about forgiveness, unity, love conquering all. Evelyn believed in the power of love to overcome any obstacle. His voice echoes through the room like static. I almost laugh. The woman he's describing isn't the woman I knew. My mom spent the last month telling anyone who'd listen that I was a selfish man who abandoned my wife and child. Forgiveness? Unity? She'd have rather written me out of the family tree with a Sharpie. After the burial, people filter into the church hall for coffee and polite whispers. The air smells like stale pastries and fake sympathy. I'm standing alone by the coffee urn when Mark, my cousin, a broad-shouldered construction foreman with fists for punctuation, makes his way over. Heard you've been causing trouble for Elise, he says, leaning in close enough for me to smell the beer on his breath. Heard you've been listening to gossip, I reply, keeping my tone flat. She's a good woman, Tom. Your mom thought so too. My mom didn't know the whole story. Mark narrows his eyes. Maybe because you never told it right. He steps closer, puffing up his chest the way bullies do when they want to make a point. Maybe you should think about making this right. For Zoe's sake. Get away from me, Mark. He smirks. Or what? You'll run me down with your car? The room stills. Conversations falter mid-sentence. Heads turn. And in that heartbeat, I see it, this was exactly what Elise wanted. A scene. A spectacle. Proof that I'm unstable. I never ran anyone down, I say, voice low but sharp. Your friend Elise tried to run me down. Mark scoffs. That's not what I heard. Then you heard wrong. His face flushes red, the kind of red that always comes before something stupid. You calling me a liar? I'm calling you misinformed. He shoves me. Hard. I stumble back, slamming into the coffee table. Cups crash to the floor. Plates scatter like shrapnel. Hot coffee splashes across my shirt. And then, silence. Every eye in the room is on me. And then, cutting through the stunned quiet, a single sound, Zoe crying. The sound hits harder than the shove. Because even in this mess, this circus Elise built brick by brick, she's the only innocent one here. And Elise? She's watching from across the room. Calm. Collected. Smiling just a little. She got exactly what she wanted. A show. And I'm the villain in it. Mark, please, Patty breathes, rushing in between us like a white flag. This is Mom's funeral. Take it up with your brother later. Her words land soft and useless. I'm on my feet, coffee staining the front of my shirt, and the room spins with the weight of 100 stares, disgust, pity, curiosity. Exactly what Elise wanted. Mission accomplished, I think bitterly. You turned my family into an audience. I announce, no more, and slip out before someone decides to make me the villain in one more conversation. Outside, the air is cold and sharp. Nate is waiting by my car, hands jammed in his jacket pockets, eyes flat. He hands me a beer like some kind of peace offering. That was a setup, he says, voice low. Elise probably fed Mark a script. Told him exactly what to say to get you to snap. I don't need him to spell it out. I felt the trap snap shut. I know, I say. The word sounds exhausted. She's better at this than I am. Maybe, Nate admits, but desperate people make sloppy moves. He leans in. Listen, Brandon's been loud at the gym. Boasting about a rich girlfriend who's going to bankroll his expansion once the divorce clears. Elise doesn't have money like that. Then where's it coming from? I ask. The question hangs, ugly and urgent. The answer arrives 3 days later in a voice I didn't expect. Natalie Hole calls me, Brandon's ex, and she wastes no preamble. I heard you're having problems with my ex-husband, she says, blunt as a blade. You could say that. We meet at a coffee shop that smells of burnt beans and frustration. Natalie is thin, coiled anger in human form, her blonde hair is chopped short like a set of jagged defenses. She slides a manila folder across the table with a look that says, "This is the thing that's been eating me alive." I open it. Papers spill out, bank statements, receipts, invoices, trail after trail of numbers that trace a lie. Skimming membership fees. Inflated invoices for equipment. Shell payments routed through odd accounts. She's been logging it for 2 years, she says. Waiting for the right moment. Why give this to me? I ask. My fingers tremble as they flip pages. Because that which your wife's sleeping with is helping him, Natalie replies. Her voice is ice. Elise has been funneling Brandon's stolen cash through her company accounts, washing it so it looks legit. New clothes, expensive dinners, that upgraded car? Not from some investor. From theft. The pieces fall into place like glass settling into a mosaic I hadn't wanted to see. Elise's sudden interest in investment opportunities. The flashy dinners she posted. The way Brandon always seemed to know when to appear. They'd been laundering cash, and Elise was taking a cut. Embezzlement, money laundering, words that felt distant until they weren't. So, you want me to do what? I ask. Natalie smiles without mercy. I want to watch them burn. That night I call Detective Lyle. My voice is steady, surprising even to me. I have documentation of financial crimes involving Elise and Brandon Holt, I tell him. Embezzlement, fraud, money laundering. I can bring it in tomorrow. Bring it in, he says. There's a pause that feels like a small permission. We'll take a look. At last, I have real tools. Paper trails don't bend to charm or makeup. Numbers don't cry on camera. For the first time since the world tipped over, I feel like something other than prey. Then life punches me in the face again. The custody petition arrives the next morning like a bomb in the mail. Elise is suing for full custody of Zoe, accusing me of being an unfit, dangerous parent. The affidavit reads like a character study of the man Elise says I am, unstable, volatile, a threat to his wife and child. Attached is a temporary restraining order, 500 feet, no contact, no home. My lawyer calls, voice a chord of worry. Tom, this is bad. She has 3 witnesses saying you threatened her and Brandon. Your mother gave a statement before she died, said you had anger issues and drank too much. My throat closes. She's dead, I say. She can't testify. She can't. But written statements can be entered. And Kelly's claiming you stalked Elise, followed her to work, harassed her friends. These are the kind of allegations that make the court act fast. I stare at the restraining order like it's a physical object, like I might rip it in half and it would mean something. It doesn't. The pieces are shifting again, the map of my life losing roads. I can't go home. I can't see Zoe. I can't defend myself without risking contempt of court. Elise has wrapped the law around my throat and tightened. But she miscalculated one thing. She underestimated how much I'm willing to lose to pull her down with me. So I sit with the papers spread out on the motel bed, the room smelling faintly of lavender and stale coffee, and I decide, if this is a war, I'll learn to fight dirty too. I will follow the money. I will line up witnesses. I will turn the ledger into a noose. I pick up the phone. My thumb hovers over a number I've been avoiding, Natalie's. Then another, Carp's. Then Detective Lyle's. Each call feels like stepping onto a wire above an abyss. I press dial. Over the next 2 weeks I felt like I was assembling a bomb out of paper clips and receipts, slow, meticulous, impossible to see coming until it detonated. While Elise strutted around thinking she'd won, I was building a case with things that don't lie, bank ledgers, wire transfers, timestamps. This wasn't about shouting louder. It was about outlasting her narrative with cold, hard proof. First stop, Natalie Hole. She met me in a coffee shop and slid a manila folder across the table like a dare. Inside was math and betrayal, bank statements, invoices, emails, the kind of paper trail you can't Photoshop away. Natalie had been keeping score since the divorce. He's been skimming memberships, padding invoices, routing money through shell accounts, she said, eyes hard as crockery. Elise has been helping him launder it through her firm. I flipped through page after page until my hands hurt. The picture that emerged was ugly and precise. Stolen money, moved through Elise's PR company, fed back out in clean-looking transfers. New clothes, flashy dinners, that shiny leased car, all paid for by other people's dues. I took that folder to the FBI's Financial Crimes Unit. Agent Sarah Chen was all business, sharp-eyed and skeptical until she started matching numbers. This shows a clear pattern of laundering, she said, chewing on the words with the kind of focus you only see when someone realizes a puzzle is solvable. Your wife's firm is invoicing for services that never happened, then funneling money to offshore accounts controlled by Holt. $200,000 in 1 year, she estimated. Federal crimes. Not neighborhood gossip anymore. When will you arrest them? I wanted to ask. Sarah didn't promise arrests on the spot, but her tone changed. Soon, she said. We'll coordinate on the assault charges. Your wife's going to face some serious felony counts. For the first time in weeks, I slept without every breath feeling borrowed. While the feds put their gears in motion, I worked the other front, reputation. I reached out to Dirty Dale, the local scandal blogger with a taste for suburban train wrecks. For $5,000 he agreed to publish a blow-by-blow, paternity fraud, embezzlement, attempted homicide, the whole rotten lot. I watched the post go live and then watched the internet do its thing. Comments filled with rage and questions. The GoFundMe that had been lining Elise's pockets since the hospital segment imploded under scrutiny and the platform pulled it for suspected fraud. Her firm put her on administrative leave. Local outlets picked up Dale's piece and suddenly Elise, the woman who'd been carefully sculpting a victim image, was the villain on every timelines. But I wanted more than news cycle schadenfreude. I wanted spectacle. Brandon's gym was hosting its annual fitness expo that weekend, a sweaty, sunlit carnival of protein shakers and motivational foam rolling. It was his biggest marketing moment. If I could turn that stage into a spotlight for the truth, his empire would start to crumble in real time. Saturday morning I rolled up with a van full of gear, speakers, a projector, a laptop loaded with receipts and recordings. The gym smelled like chalk, body wash, and optimism. Booths lined the floor, people in matching spandex clutched brochures. Brandon was on the main stage, flexing and smiling as he lectured on integrity and discipline, the kind of pep talk that looks great on Instagram. Success, he was saying, isn't just physical strength. It's moral character. You couldn't write a better punchline. When he dropped into a motivational anecdote, I hooked my laptop into the sound system. One click, and the wall behind Brandon lit up with bank statements. The room's hum turned into a murmur. Speaking of moral character, my voice carried into the microphones, calm and slow. Let's look at Brandon Holt's real achievements. He spun around so fast his grin fell off his face. The projector flicked to photographs, Brandon at a candlelit table with Elise, his hand possessive on her thigh, texts showing transfers, invoices with Elise's firm's name cleanly stamped on them. The crowd's confusion curdled into outrage. Someone yelled, "Is that him?" Someone else started recording. Brandon lunged for the microphone. "This is lies," he bellowed, flustered. "This man is obsessed with my girlfriend." "Girlfriend?" I laughed. "You mean the married woman who's been stealing from her company to pay for your life?" The words landed like stones. Heads turned. Phones lifted. Local news camera operators, who'd been milling around for B-roll, pivoted toward the drama like sharks to blood. The audio cuts and documents I'd cued streamed across the screens, Elise on TV telling her sob story, then the quiet, unvarnished recording of her on my phone admitting the fraud. Side by side, the contrast was humiliating. The woman who had mastered the victim role looked small and exposed. Security moved in, but by then the internet had already begun its work. Clips went up, comments flew, and the hashtag I didn't make but fully deserve trended locally, fitness guru falls, and paternity fraud. Conversations that had been whisper quiet the week before were now loud and furious in comment sections and group chats. Brandon's business, client cancellations, refund requests, scathing reviews, began to hemorrhage. He tried to shout his way back to the stage, but the crowd's mood had turned. People who had been there for protein shakes and PR photos left with a new headline to tell their friends. I stood in that gym as cameras swiveled and strangers pointed, feeling something odd and complicated, vindication that tasted a lot like relief, and a terror that this was only the beginning. My phone, tucked in my pocket, buzzed like it knew the timing. I pulled it out. The screen lit up with a name I had hoped to see for days, Agent Sarah Chen. My thumb hovered over the green button. Would this be the moment she told me indictments were imminent, or would it be another step in a long, grinding process? I tapped accept, and the line clicked alive, but what she said next wasn't something I could have scripted. Monday morning felt like the last act of a play I never wanted to be in. The courthouse steps were cold under my shoes, the sky a hard, washed-out blue. I waited there, arms folded, Zoe's little stuffed elephant tucked inside my jacket like a talisman. When Elise arrived, she hadn't the theatrical grief of earlier TV interviews. Her face looked drained, the edges raw. She tried for calm. "Tom," she said, voice clipped, "we need to talk." "No," I said simply. "We need to go inside so a judge can hear the truth." She reached toward me like she might still catch me. "You don't understand," she gasped. "If you keep pushing this, everyone gets hurt. Zoe gets hurt." "Zoe's been hurt enough by your lies," I answered. The building swallowed us as we stepped through the doors. Inside the courtroom, the air smelled of paper and old polish. Elise's attorney tried, predictably, to stitch the same victim cloth, whispering to the clerk, adjusting a tie, offering the well-rehearsed outraged look. But the room wasn't empty. The FBI's financial report sat on the judge's table in black and white, the recordings of Elise's own admissions were cued, witness statements from that gym expo, people, phones, videos, had already been submitted. The tapestry of truth was woven and heavy. Judge Martinez, sharp, precise, and not remotely impressed by performative sorrow, read through the packets with a steady, clinical disdain. "Miss Grady," she said, looking up like someone removing a bandage, "you have been charged with paternity fraud, embezzlement, money laundering, and attempted vehicular homicide. That substantially undermines your credibility in this custody matter." Elise's lawyer opened his mouth to object, the judge cut him off as if swatting at a fly. "And furthermore," Judge Martinez continued, "this court is deeply concerned by attempts to alienate this child from her primary caregiver through false accusations. Given the totality of evidence, this court finds Miss Grady presently unfit to have unsupervised custody." Elise stood, voice rising. "Your Honor, you don't understand. Tom isn't Zoe's biological father. He has no right." "Sit down, Miss Grady," the judge said, cold as winter. "Biology is not the sole determinant of parenthood. Mr. Grady has been this child's father in every meaningful respect for 2 years. You cannot erase that by manufacturing lies." When the gavel fell, it felt like something heavy lifting off my shoulders. The judge awarded me full custody, Elise would receive supervised visitation only. The temporary restraining order was dismissed. And the criminal matters, the federal investigation, the attempted homicide charge, would proceed. Stepping out of the courthouse felt like surfacing from a long, panicked dive. Reporters swarmed as if awaiting a verdict that would make dinner table conversation for a month. Elise tried to hide her face beneath a scarf, there was nowhere to hide. A reporter shoved a microphone at me, smiling the predatory smile journalists practice in the mirror. "Mr. Grady, how does it feel to get your daughter back?" she asked. I looked instead at Elise, at the lease, the lies, the woman who had tried to make my life invisible, and answered the only honest thing I could: it feels like justice. That evening I drove to my mother's house and picked up Zoe. She hurtled into my arms like nothing had ruptured at all, pure, uncomplicated love. "Daddy," she shrieked, little hands clamped around my neck. "I missed you." "I missed you too, princess," I said, my voice cracking in a way that felt like relief and regret braided together. As I buckled her into her seat, she looked up, eyes wide and trusting. They were Dave's eyes, people had said, his grin, his little dimple, and sure, DNA might prove that, but that didn't change the fact that she was mine in the only ways that mattered. I put her to bed, sang her to sleep, packed her lunches, and fought for her future. We went home. The hours stretched into a new kind of normal. Elise was convicted, federal time, 5 years for her, 3 for Brandon. Kelly lost her job when investigators confirmed she lied, the firm cut ties, the GoFundMe pages vanished. My mother's estate reverted to me. The legal stipulations meant her last-minute sympathies couldn't undo what had been properly signed years earlier. 6 months later, Zoe and I were in a modest house across town, new paint, a smaller yard, a life scrubbed clean of Briarwood Lane's ghosts. She thrived at daycare, made friends, learned to ride a tricycle. I took a new job that let me be present for school pickups and afternoon stories. I kept my married name for Zoe's sake. The paperwork was less important than the continuity it gave her. At night, after the lights were low and Zoe's breathing smoothed into sleep, I'd sit on the couch and let the quiet speak. Sometimes I'd picture Elise sitting in some cell, finally facing the consequences of a life built on deceit. People say revenge should be cold. I disagree. Mine was fire, public, undeniable, the kind that burned through false narratives and left ash where illusions once were. But the aftermath wasn't all satisfaction. There were lonely stitches in the victory, phone numbers that were gone, neighbors who'd never look me in the eye again, small holidays that would now feel different. Justice had a cost, and I'd paid it. I'd also won Zoe back. That was the ledger that balanced in my mind. And yet, even as legal papers closed a chapter, a soft, nagging question lingered in the dark: had I won everything I wanted, or had I simply traded one set of wounds for another? I watched Zoe sleep, her chest rising and falling, and I let the question sit without forcing it. Tomorrow, I told myself, we would build something honest. Tonight, I would let the silence hold us both.